I used to love all of those kinds of things growing up. They have rock climbing, they have ziplining, they had trampolines, they had a ninja maze. We start off there and it is just the kids. I was like, so the adults can't do anything? I mean, it looked like so much fun. So I went to the front desk and I said, are the adults allowed to go on the equipment and the rides and things? And they said yes.
Welcome to Late Bloomer Living, the podcast where we're all about shaking up our ideas about what it means to grow older. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your resident age agitator and play instigator. Around here, we believe midlife is the perfect time to play, to reinvent, and bloom like you mean it. Let's go. When was the last time you let yourself play? I mean, really play? My really good friend Adam Rothenberg recently found himself at a kid's birthday party. And yep, he was the only adult to rock climb and zip line with the kids. I'm so proud of him. That moment, by the way, captures Adam perfectly. He is liable to break out in song at any moment in time, which is something I love about him. He's curious and full of joy. He brings that joy and curiosity with him into the work that he does on his entertainment platform, Call Me Adam. So today we're going to talk about how he brings that same playful energy to his work and what it means to stay playful and passionate in midlife and beyond. And Adam, thank you for being here with me today.
I'm so excited to be talking to you about play and incorporating it into everything that I do.
Me too. Adam and I, we co-work together sometimes so that we can get stuff done and stay on target and all that. And before we started working the last time we got together, Adam said, "Oh, I have something to tell you. I went to a birthday party and I'm going to let you finish the story." But I knew immediately from that conversation, I was like, "Oh my gosh, we need to talk about this. This needs to be a story that people hear." So can you like paint the scene for us?
Yes. So we went to my boyfriend's nephew's ninth birthday party at one of these indoor, I'm going to call it indoor playground where they have rock climbing, they have zip lining. It turns out they had trampolines, they had a ninja maze that you have to sort of like on like an
Oh,
American
like American Ninja?
Gladiators, American
Yeah.
Ninja, yes, type thing that you have to that
Wow.
you can go through. And before we got to the party, even in the week leading up to the party, I kept saying, so the adults can't do anything, and my boyfriend told me, no, it's just for the kids, it's just for the kids. And we get there, and again, I was like, so the adults can't do anything. I mean, it looked like so much fun. I mean, it looked so great. So we start off there, and it is just the kids. And then I was reading some of the signs, and it said, the weight limit that it had for, say, the zip lining was something like 300 pounds. And I'm like, are they sure it's just for kids? I mean, like, I don't like I'm within the weight requirement that could go on it. So why couldn't I go on it? So
Right.
I was like, I'm going to ask at the front desk if I can do these things. So I went to the front desk and I said, are the adults allowed to go on the equipment and the rides and things? And they said yes. I said, so I can go rock climbing, I can go zip lining, I could go on the trapeze, I could do all the, yes, you could do all of that. So I, me, along with one of Angelo's other older cousins, we both paid because we were supposed to have a rock climbing contest to see who could climb up the wall the quickest, but each of the walls were a different style of
Oh,
climbing. So
yeah.
she got one that I was like, oh, that's the one I really should be doing. And I was trying one that had vines like you would see in Shrek, the movie. There was no way I could grip it. And then I started to think, oh my God, is it me? Like, is it me that just can't climb this well? But then luckily she tried it and she wasn't able to do it either. So I felt good that it wasn't just me. And then I did the one that she did, which where it was a wall of, I believe they were shaped sort of like hexagons.
Uh-huh.
and you could easily grip them and climb up. And it was so much easier to climb
Yeah.
that. We didn't get to have a race because we couldn't do it side by side, but it was
Gotcha.
so much fun.
When we first spoke, I thought that you were the only adult that ended up playing. I'm really glad you had a partner who joined you.
Yeah, well, she joined me for I think she did the zip line once with me. I did the zip line twice, and then I continued because I wanted to experience it all. I used to love all of those kinds of things growing up.
Yeah.
I loved rides and zip lining, and even though I had a fear of heights when I was younger,
Uh-huh.
I was still able to do that stuff. Now it's different as an adult.
Do you still have a fear of heights? Was it scary?
Y- Yes, walking up the steps, not climbing the wall because I felt very secure on that particular rock climbing wall. I was
Uh-huh.
harnessed in. The
Yeah.
zip line too, I was harnessed in. Now, mind you, you are indoors, so it's not that high, but it's high enough. And
Mm-hmm.
I have seen the social media videos of people going zip lining and something does happen, but you go with the mindset of this is safe. Look at all
Right.
these people doing it. And it was a little nerve-wracking walking down the ramp. And mind you, the ramp is probably the length of my hands. I mean, very short. And you just walk off and you sit and the zip line takes you. And
Yeah.
it was so much fun. And I got turned around because you do gain momentum as you're going down the zip line. And when I was going backwards, not being able to see what was in front of me, certainly was like, what am I going to slam into? And it is quite an impact when you stop. I don't know if it's because I'm an adult and it is I think it is meant for kids, but it definitely is quite an impact when you stop. But then you get up and you walk down the stairs and it's fine. But it's very exhilarating. It's a lot of fun. And it challenges me to continue to conquer my fear of heights.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so great. So, did you try to talk Angelo into doing it with you?
Yes, I did. I said this would be so great. I said, look, the zip line's not that high. It would be great for you to practice going on it. And he decided not to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? So play for some people, for me, going and doing what you did, I'm in 100%. Like, let's go. I would have been there with you, Adam. But for some other people, that kind of experience doesn't feel playful.
Hmm.
So there's that. But I always hope that everybody can keep finding ways that work for them that feel playful to do it. And I think sometimes when we stop ourselves from playing, it could be like, it could be as simple as, well, it's a kid party and it's just for the kids, and we stop ourselves like, but I think back to like one of the recent birthday parties for my youngest, and we took him ice skating with a bunch of his high school friends. And somebody asked me, "Well, are you gonna skate?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I'm gonna skate. There's no question." And they were like, "You're crazy. You are gonna break something. You're gonna hurt yourself." I was like, "I'm going. I'm going, darn it." Um, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun to be out on the ice with all the kids. And, we didn't insinuate ourselves into the kid group. But, one of the kids had never been on ice skates before. And so we actually did end up like helping him a little bit and coaching him a little bit. And he was,
Oh,
he was up for it. So we were like, "All right, you got this, you got this." It was a lot of fun. And the
it
zip
does.
lining, oh, can I just tell you a story? Like,
Yes.
we took our kids to an outdoor zip line place.
Hmm.
And this was, gosh, I'm going to guess at least 10 years ago, at least. And it was something that we'd wanted to do. And so somebody gave our kids gift certificates to go for a birthday or something. And we decided to buy ourselves the extra tickets to go with them. And we did the first, I'll call it route that they send you on. So much fun. It was great. You're harnessed in. And it was all very doable. And then we were feeling really like, woo, that was awesome. Let's do another one. And so we decided to do like the next level up in challenge. And it was like 5 times as hard. And there was one point where all of them, John and the kids, had gone before me, and we're up on a really high platform. It felt like 100 feet to me. I don't know what it actually was. And we were supposed to zip line down into this cargo net. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching them go and like bang into the cargo net, like you said, like you
Yeah.
really like catch the momentum.
Yeah.
And I am watching this and I'm getting more and more and more scared. And finally I'm standing there on top of the thing and I don't know how long it was before I could make myself go. It was either somebody was going to have to come get me and help me get down because there was no
Mhm.
other way down. It was going to have to be assisted,
Mhm.
or I was going to have to do the thing. And John was so cute. He was down at the other end. He's like, "You got this." And he coached me through the whole thing. You can do it. You can do it. But I was so scared. I did do
It,
it.
but it happens. The fear sets in. I mean, the fear is real, and I don't want anybody listening or watching to think I just did everything because one thing I wanted to do that I didn't do because of my fear was the ropes course where you're harnessed in.
Mm-hmm.
But not every part of the ropes course had something for you to hold on to on the side. And I don't feel at this stage of my life, I don't feel like my balance is what it used to be as a kid. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me to walk on something that I have no support on either side, not necessarily that I have to grip it tight, but even just to hold on a little bit, it's not something I'm going to choose to do.
Right. And I think it's the kind of thing that you kind of have to build up to. I will say this, as I've gotten older, my fear factor has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was like becoming a mom that did that to me. I don't know if it's sheer age that has done that to me, but I used to be able to go on any ride and I was fearless as a kid.
Yes.
We went to a park with our kids. This was again 10, 15 years ago when they were, in elementary school or something. And we went to this park and they had roller coasters and all the things. And I love, the swings, the thing that goes
Yes.
around and around and the swings go out.
Yes.
Man, I used to love that as a kid. Just like the feeling of flying, and so I was like, oh, they have swings. That was like the first thing I wanted to do. And so I got in the swings. What I didn't realize, because I hadn't seen them run the ride before I got on it, is that the center post with the swings, it went up, 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 up into the air.
Oh my
So
God.
all of a sudden you're on the swings, but you're 40 feet up in the air or something. And I'm like, that changed the entire equation for me. As we went through that day on different rides, I was like, oh my gosh, I am so much more afraid of these rides than I used to be as a
Mhm.
kid. And I don't know maybe it's just because I don't do it as often.
Yeah,
Or what is that, do you
I
think?
think it's similar because Sex and the City did an episode similar with a similar thing. I think it was the episode when Carrie was trying to do the trapeze for the first time. The title was something, it was like Catch 22 or something. It was some kind of title like that.
Uh-huh.
And I remember one of her voiceovers was as an adult, we're afraid of what if we break an arm? What if we break a leg? It was something like that. All of these things that come into our mind as an adult, not necessarily as a child. I mean, as a kid, I used to be, a playground was my favorite place. I was on the monkey bars, I was going down the slides, I was climbing over walls. I loved it all. I mean, my dad named me he would call me Monkey Shine as a kid because I was always on the monkey bars, swinging from one thing. And so one
That's
of the
so cute.
things at the indoor playland that we were at, they
Hmm.
had, like I said at the beginning, like an American Ninja type of obstacle course. And so they had the rings. Now, I used to be able to do the rings no problem as a kid. As an adult, I haven't done it in since I was a kid. I had no idea how to maneuver on the rings. I didn't know how to go one arm to the next. And on TV they make it look so easy on American Ninja where they're just like la 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 la. I had no idea what to do. And then I just decided to drop to the ground. Now, I also didn't know that I was dropping into the it was like an air-filled ground, so you're cushioned when you fall. But I didn't realize how far down I'd be going with the air, and it was like I don't know if we'll be able to show the video, but if we're able to show the video at some point, you see me go all the way down, and it's like,
Whoa.
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, this is far down. Like, where am I now?
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I didn't mind trying it because I just want to have fun. I've always, Cyndi Lauper had Girls Just Want to Have Fun, but I always wanted to have fun. And I remember I bought a Cyndi Lauper watch at one of her concerts, and I bought it because I said to myself, now I'll always know what time it is to have fun.
Oh, I love that's a great reason to buy a watch. To have fun as a fun reminder. I
Exactly.
love that. When we spoke about this the first time, I remember you talking about you said something about, well, maybe I shouldn't have done it because I'm really sore today. I want to talk about that because a lot of the times when we are older and let's say we do something and we hurt ourselves, it's really easy to blame the pain on our age, where my theory is this: if you were working muscles you hadn't worked in a long time, because
Yeah.
it's just a different activity than you can go to the gym and you can stay, keep working out and doing all the things. But when you do something that's so essentially different, yeah, you might pull something a little bit, you might tweak something a little bit, or you're just worked muscles that are like, whoa, hey, what is all this? And I think so often we hold ourselves back just by saying, oh, yeah, I must be too old for that now.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's a limiting belief that keeps
Yes.
us from keeping our bodies moving and having fun.
Yes. I mean, I have been struggling with some like back issues and some lower back pain, so I wasn't sure that it was the best idea to
Oh no.
go on
Has
the
it
zip
been
line
ongoing
and
still? Are you
go.
still suffering?
Yes, a little
Oh
bit.
no.
So that's where some of that came into play of
Yeah.
I probably should, but we were there and I just wanted to have fun. I was like, whatever the repercussion is from me doing this, I will deal with it afterwards. And I was, like you said, I was a little sore, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Now, maybe also I didn't really do the real strenuous things, but I do have some ailments throughout my body. And the next day I definitely felt it from even going on the trampoline. The next day, I felt some residualness of what that jumping did. But in the moment, I had so much fun that I was like, well, it was worth it, and I'll just do my physical therapy exercises and stretch out, and it'll be fine in a few
Yeah.
days.
And
And
did you stretch beforehand?
I did not because I didn't think of it in terms of as a real physical activity kind of class. Like if I was going to a workout class,
Mm-hmm.
of course I would stretch beforehand because I
Right.
know
But
what we're going to be
you were
doing.
just going to go play. So this wasn't like thinking
Ex
of it as like exercise,
exactly.
right?
I didn't think climbing the rock wall, I need to stretch my arms first or I should stretch my shoulders. But it's a lot of shoulder work that you use climbing that.
So I have a question for you. If you, if there was something that was a, let's say it was a class for adults or something, if this was available to you for you to do more often,
Hmm.
and it was like exercise that also happened to be playful, would that be a way to keep moving your body that you would want to do regularly? Like,
I mean, probably because the kinds of activities that I did at the indoor playland was things that I do love to do, and it didn't, like you said, it certainly didn't feel like a workout, but it was. I mean, after I climbed the wall twice, I mean, I was sweating afterwards.
yeah,
It was it was a workout. The zip line, I mean, the zip line wasn't really, I didn't really feel like physical activity, but
right.
maybe if I worked out in a different way, maybe some of that impact wouldn't, when I went to that impact, maybe I wouldn't have felt it as much or something.
Yeah. They have
Uh,
trapeze classes for adults, don't they? And don't you? Yeah.
yes, I have thought about that, but I also know, I mean, maybe it would help me with my shoulder issues. Who knows? I think it's almost 10 years ago, maybe a little less. But for one of my birthdays, my friends and I went in New York City. They do have the trapeze, the trapeze that is in that episode of Sex and the City. We went to
Ah,
and and we did it. And I mean, it was so much fun. I was sore for like a week afterwards.
I bet.
And that was also back in the day when I did really work out like 4 to 5 days a week. I was in like much better shape and I was still sore, but it was incredible. And that was high up. And even though there was that safety net below, climbing up that ladder was somehow more scary than
Yeah.
doing the actual trapeze, but it was so much fun. And I mean, I've never done it since, but I'm glad I did it in that moment. And you talk about like also play. For my 40th birthday, I went to Vegas, and on a impulse, I decided to go skydiving.
I've always wanted to do
Oh
that.
my
And
God.
but I wanted to do that when I was younger, and now, like I said, I know I'm more fearful. I knew I wanted to get back on my skates a few years ago, and
Yes.
I thought I was just going to put on my skates and like be like, "Wee!" like, okay, I'm on my skates again. And I was so scared to be, I was so wobbly for months. It took
Mhm.
me to get past what I call the wobbles. So now I wonder if I don't know if I could jump out of a plane. What was that like?
It was one of the most exhilarating and freeing experiences. Now, mind you, I went to Vegas for my 40th birthday because on my actual 40th birthday, Olivia Newton-John was performing in concert. So
Oh,
I, one thing I made sure of was I was like, I'm gonna go to the Olivia Newton-John concert first, and then I'm gonna go skydiving sometime after the concert because if something happens and I don't make it, I want to die knowing that I saw Olivia Newton-John on my 40th
I
birthday.
love that. And for those of you who don't know, I mentioned that Adam has an entertainment platform called Call Me Adam. We haven't even gone there yet, but Adam has interviewed Olivia Newton-John. How many times?
I got to do 3 interviews with her.
3 interviews. That's amazing.
Yes.
At this point for your 40th birthday, had you already interviewed her once or twice by then? Or
Yes,
was,
I had interviewed her twice. Once was through email where I had emailed her press rep questions and he sent her replies back to me. The second time I had interviewed her, by that point we had done a phone interview together. So I had actually spoken to her on the phone. And I had met her once before at a concert when she was performing on Long Island prior to that. So it was sort of like a reintroduction, but I was able to work it out with her press rep that I was able to go to the show as press, and he also set up a meet and greet for me afterwards for my
oh,
40th
that's
birthday. And it was literally it was on my actual birthday. It was like I had to be there, and I'm so glad I went. I ended up going. I was supposed to go with a group of friends, but nobody ended up being able to go, and I was like, once I'm not missing this. And
Wow.
I went to Vegas by myself, and there too. So at that time, Joan Rivers and Melissa Rivers had their show on WeTV, Joan and Melissa,
Uh-huh.
and they had done an episode in Vegas where they went to the old city and they went ziplining at the indoor mall there. They went on a gondola ride in around the, I think it's the
The
Venetian
Venetian?
Hotel there.
Yeah.
Yes. So when
Uh-huh.
I went to Vegas, in addition to seeing Olivia Newton-John, I did my own Joan and Melissa tour, and
I
I
love
went on the
this.
zip line there, which was also scary climbing up. And I was like, am I really going to do this? And I was like, well, Joan did it. So, I mean, I have to do it.
You're
And
my
I,
hero. So you have a fear of heights and you've ziplined numerous times and jumped out of a plane. Come on.
yes.
Like, first of all, there you are, and you're like, I'm gonna jump out of a plane. What what was that? What
Uh,
was that impulse?
I was turning 40. I wanted to do something that I've never done. It was maybe like an adrenaline rush that came over me. And
Yeah.
I was just like, I've talked to other people who had done skydiving. They say it was the most incredible experience. So I I did it, and I just threw caution to the wind. Now, mind you, I got there, and they're taking you through the safety thing that they do beforehand, and you fly up in a very small propeller plane. There's like 10 of you in there. Now, I did this also just to let everybody know. I did the skydiving in tandem, which means that I had an instructor with me. And now I was very lucky. My trainer was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great sense of humor. He was making jokes throughout the whole uh, um, plane ride up into the sky. And as the plane is increasing altitude, I started to certainly get the nerves, and then you see people jump, and my trainer saying to me, nobody has ever turned not jumped out of the plane to get back down. Nobody has turned around in the plane and flown back down, and it's not going to start today. And so he was like, "You're ready?" And I was like, "I guess so." And also at that time too, I think, and maybe this is where some of it came from, but a question I used to ask almost everybody that I interviewed was, if you could have any superpower, which one would you choose? I would say 90% of the people that I asked that question to, their superpower was flying. Well, we jumped out of the plane. The first 45 seconds where you free fall is like the scariest. I'm like, what is going to happen? And then the parachute comes up, and then you spin around for a while. And I was like, do we spin around the whole time? Because if so, that might, but you don't, it calms down. But so as we're flying through, I am shouting out at the top of my lungs, call me Adam Flies. I'm like all my participants, and I'm flying. And I think that's where some of it came, was that everybody talked about flying, and as you're descending down with the parachute, you're looking out in Vegas, at least you're looking out over mountains and trees, and it is, you really feel like you're seeing the whole world. It's the most beautiful thing, and there you are, just like floating in air. It's incredible. And would I do it today? I don't know. Maybe. It was such an exhilarating, freeing experience. And I wish I could say that it really changed me for good. And I did all these different things from doing it. But maybe I think the act of doing it was what was enough. I think that's also where a lot of it came from, was I wanted to free myself from what I felt like I was confined in at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I credit it to the instructor that I had, because he really did help calm me down and keep me calm.
Yeah.
So
So, do you feel like at this point in your life, do you feel like you are staying playful? It sounds like you
I
are.
do, yes, because I think if I wasn't being playful, I don't think I would have tried so hard to do all of those activities at the indoor
I know
playground.
you really made that happen.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the story is how determined you actually were to play.
Yeah, because it looked like a lot of fun. And I mean, growing up, we didn't really have a indoor playland
Yeah, we didn't have
like
that growing
that.
up. No.
No,
You should have adult nights at those
they
places
should.
where, they have people there to walk you through it
Yeah,
and you're surrounded by a bunch of other adults and
yeah,
I think that would be
they
fun.
should. But I
Yeah.
think I've always had a youthful, I feel like a youthful spirit, a youthful outlook. I've never lost that curiosity, that childlike curiosity. And I feel like maybe that's also why I am on this journey of interviewing artists and celebrities because I have that curiosity of what is it like? What is it like? I try to stick to sort of a lot of the everyday things that they do. Like I wanted like when I started my interviewing journey in 2008, I was on a mission to find out the everyday things about the artists and celebrities that I loved. And my line of questioning has evolved over the years because then I also got intrigued in what drew them to a project. But I feel like I always have a little bit of, I want to find out some non-work related things to whoever I'm speaking to. And I think that does just come from my lifelong youthfulness and like I said, my that always childlike curiosity of how things work. I typically ask a million questions to find out the inside information about things because I want to know. I want to, if something fascinates me, I want to know more about it. And I know sometimes Angela's like, oh my God, how many more questions are you going to ask? But it's just my natural
You really,
curiosity.
having spent a lot of time with you in our mastermind community, yes, I can testify. You have questions, and I love
Mhm.
that about you because your questions usually end up. I'm like, oh, I wish I had asked that. That's a great question. Um, I love that. I mean, you segued into talking about this so naturally because I literally was just about to ask you that, Adam, um, about how you think this translates into the work that you're doing and speaking to celebrities and performers and all that. And I think that there is this really key tie-in to curiosity and playfulness.
Mhm.
And I think that curiosity is a superpower.
Mhm.
That if we can lean into curiosity, like I'm finding for me, I'll take this down a different route. I'm finding for me that when I'm anxious about something or worried about something, if I can get curious about that thing and ask myself some good questions around it, that it takes me out of worrying and into curiosity and inquiry. And if I can do that with a playful vibe, it even opens things up more to the possibility of finding solutions to problems that I wouldn't have been able to come up with if I had stayed fearful and anxious and
Mhm.
worried, you know? And
Yes.
yeah, how do you think it serves you when it comes to like approaching guests and asking them if you can interview? Does that do you get like nervous to ask certain people on or what
Yeah.
is
Oh,
that like?
yes. Yes. I definitely get nervous to request interviews with certain people. I also during an interview, sometimes I get nervous as I approach a certain question because
Mm,
I really have no idea how maybe they're going to react to a question. And that's why I try to save some of those kinds of questions or some of those kinds of topics for later in the interview because let's get a rapport going. let's get some of the what I call my intro questions out of the
Mm-hmm.
way. What attracted you to the project? What do you relate to your character? And those aren't questions that, those kinds of questions I feel like are your typical interview questions. But I use those as, yes, I want to know about the project. I want to know what attracted to them. But I'm also using that as, like we talk about in our mastermind community, that's sort of like my on-ramping of getting them warmed up, because then I'm going to go into a little more deeper questions or personal questions. And I remember talking to one person, and it wasn't I mean, it was public information that this person had been married and that they were no longer together, but they did a recent have to work together a little bit, not an in-depth scene or anything, but a little bit. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. You just broke up like a year or so ago, and now you're working together. What is that like? Because I
Uh-huh.
feel like there's other people out there who maybe they own a business with their spouse or partner and they break up and you still have to work together. How do you do that?
Yeah.
I liked the answer that they gave about, don't be a jerk, just be, you have to be cordial. Luckily, they had a friendship first, and they're able to maintain that friendship, so it wasn't awkward. But
You're the way you ask questions too, Adam, and it's just speaks to who you are. You're
mhm,
essentially a kind person.
mhm.
And you're not I've never seen you go for the gotcha moment. Like you don't have it's never like you're trying to pull the carpet out from somebody from under somebody. You ask with an underlying kindness. And
Yes.
I think that that must make a huge difference in the responses that you get from people because I think people can sense that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that. They do, and I also like going back to the curiosity and that childlike curiosity that I always have. I also, if I'm interviewing somebody that I have been a fan of for so long, I'm also coming at the interview from a fan point of view. And
Mm-hmm.
these are things I would want to know as a fan. And I don't always get to talk. I mean, depending on how long we have and how the conversation goes, I don't always have as much time as I would like to talk about maybe like the one huge project that they did that they're really well known for, that I loved. Sometimes I don't get to talk about that as much, but if I can at least find ways to intersperse it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
then that's great. At least I get something. Like for instance, I got to interview Nancy McKean, who was everyone knows her as Jo from The Facts of Life.
Yes, I was a huge fan of Jo.
Yes.
She was my favorite.
Well, she is one of my entertainment idols, and I got to interview her for a second time because she came back into the off-Broadway play Pen Pals back in January or February of 2025. And I was able to bring up another TV movie of hers that I really liked called A Mother's Gift. And it was on in the 90s, and there was something, and I actually got to rewatch the movie before our interview, and there was something in the movie of where she was writing a letter to her boyfriend in the movie at the time. And in Pen Pals, the premise is that she has a pen pal that she writes letters to for 5 decades throughout her life. And so I was able to like weave that into the current project. So if I can find something, and I didn't really ask specific things about the facts of life with Nancy McKean either time that I interviewed her, but I did work it into the conversation. Like I think I asked her something like, if you could write a pen pal letter to um to Jo,
To
what would you
Jo.
say? So that was my way of bringing facts of life in. But then, there were other shows that she was on that maybe only lasted a season, but I remember them and I love them. So I wanted to bring something from that into it too. So I just come at it from a fan perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Because really fandom is what got you started in interviewing people to begin
Yes.
with, right?
Yes.
Like,
I'll tell you the quick story is I always wanted to work in entertainment. I didn't know how I would do that. I did acting in college. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. Anyway, I ended up doing some stand-up comedy, and then that didn't go as I planned it. So I was thinking, like, what could I do to entertain people? And I was reading all these interviews on other websites, and I was like, I have questions I want to ask people. And a colleague of mine suggested that I start my own blog, and I did, and that was 16 years ago.
and now
It's
that
just,
has blossomed from a purely written thing that you used to do, right? You
yeah,
used, it was a blog, and it was, you'd email questions, people would email back to you, and then it
correct.
turned into a podcast, and now you've got an entire entertainment platform with how
Mhm.
many people have visited your
Oh, oh,
platform?
almost 3 million visitors in the
Oh
last
my
2 years
gosh.
alone.
In the last 2 years alone.
Two and a half
So,
years.
for anybody listening, I want you to hear this again, the timeline. You've been doing this for 16 years.
Hmm.
And in the last 2 years is when you've seen this massive explosion of growth.
Yes.
Isn't that incredible?
Yes.
It's funny because that's what we see when we see the success of somebody. We see the highlight moments, the things, and all this time, all these years, you've been plugging away at it. I'm going to guess what kept you going is how much you love doing it.
Yes, because I was just going to say, ask me how many times I was at the deciding point of, oh, I have done this long enough, let me stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and right when I get to that point, because it still comes up. I mean, I love you, but you're right. I love what I do. And just when I get to that point of, oh, I think I don't know that I want to do this anymore, somebody comes along that I have been dying to interview, and then that keeps me going. And I'm like, thank God I didn't stop because I wouldn't have had this opportunity.
So we just need to get you to interview Dolly Parton, and you can rest on your laurels then, right? That's your big
My
goal, isn't
my
it?
number one dream interview is Dolly
Are you
Parton. Yes.
listening, Dolly? Talk to Adam. I would love to see you interview Dolly
Oh
Parton.
my
That would
God,
be amazing.
it would be so much fun because she too, I feel like she has a very playful side. I mean, she definitely has her business side and she is
Sure,
very,
yeah.
I
She's
mean,
so
laser
successful as
focused.
a
Yes.
businesswoman. Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like she is a perfect example of somebody who incorporates play into all she does. She has
Everything.
her,
She is so playful. Yeah, I like these days, honestly, I have to tell you, sometimes I ask myself, what would Dolly do?
mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah,
And she knows how to incorporate play, whether it's a joke about herself or just a fun way to make a heavy topic a little lighter. She
yeah,
always finds a way to bring that into whatever she's doing.
yeah. I think you do too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on to talk about this playful thing that you did, and I love that it led us to skydiving and interviewing and all the things. I mean, you know, that is my goal these days, is to be like Dolly. Like, I want to bring playfulness into everything that I do because I just want to, girls just want to have fun.
That's right. Well, thank you, Yvonne, for having me on today and for your time and the great questions. I loved our conversation and I love that it went in so many directions. And I truly feel like I talked about a part of my life and my journey that I have never talked about before with all the
Oh,
play talk. So thank you.
fantastic. Well, for anybody listening right now, thank you for being here with me and Adam. I hope this encourages you to get out and play in a way that works for you. And if you don't even know what that is right now, which I get it. You get into adulthood and it gets to be okay, next task, next task, next task, and we forget what even feels playful to us. So Start asking yourself good questions like, what did I love to do as a kid? How can I be more playful? How can I make more time for play in my life? And I promise you that it is transformative. That is my promise to you, and my challenge to you is to dig in and get curious and see what that is for you. If you like this content, share it with a friend. If you feel like, you want to play with your friend more, send them this little reminder, hit the subscribe button, and thank you so much. We'll be back, and keep blooming like you mean it.